Hello everybody, Mike Westphal here with McDonald Garden Center, and we're coming to you again live on Facebook Live for our seminar, and today we're going to do Birding 101. Really exciting topic again, very easy to get into. I'm going to try and keep it super simple and super basic, so ask questions. Please feel free to ask questions. I'll get to them at the end of the seminar, as always, and I'll come over there and I can read the questions, and this way you can see me as I kind of show you some products and different ideas. And what I'd like to do is just kind of quickly just say, thanks for joining us. Wish you could be here, but everybody stay safe and continue to garden. It's a great exercise. It's a great way of relieving stress, and birding is part of that. Birding is definitely part of that. I mean, just watching out the window and seeing the birds come to your feeders and to your houses and being out in the yard with nature is a great thing right now to relieve stress. So we want to encourage that, and that's why this is a great topic to talk about. So much information that I could give you. Again, I'm going to try and keep this as simple as I possibly can. McDonald Garden Center has been in Hampton Roads for 75 years, so we know this area very well. We know the birds in this area. That's what we're going to kind of specifically talk about is those birds in this area. So I don't want to get into specifics on woodpeckers or nuthatches or titmice or all the different types of finches. And so there's a lot of birds that we can attract into our backyards and into our yards. And it's a great thing. But to get super specific, I mean, I could do probably a 30-minute seminar on just cardinals. So I'm going to try and keep it short and simple and just kind of go through some of the basic steps and give you some tips and tricks that maybe you didn't know that will help attract more birds into your yard. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So it's a fun exercise. It's a fun activity that anybody from any age can do. So it's very easy to get into. It's very simple to do. Just a bird feeder will attract some birds into your yard. A couple bird houses, but I'll throw in a lot of other things that you can do to help encourage more of those in there. So a couple of the topics that we're going to cover is why do we feed birds? The types of feeders. There's lots of different types of feeders, different types of houses, and where to place them. And then also hummingbirds. I want to talk a little bit about hummingbirds because they're really exciting. A lot of people have trouble getting them into your yard, so I might have some tips and tricks there. And then we'll finish up with just some general things that you can do to encourage more birds into your yard. So try and keep it very simple. If you have specific questions, I'll try and do my best to answer them. I'm the garden guru, so I know a lot about gardening. Birding is a hobby of mine, so I definitely enjoy doing it. But I'm not going to say that I'm like the most amazing expert at every type of bird. But I do work with some amazing people that do know a ton about them. And I've got representatives from Wild Delight that work with me. Amazing people. I'll talk about their birdseed a little bit. But also I can ask them questions anytime. Amazing resources out there with Wild Delight or Kohl's. There's lots of different companies out there that you can go and do research with or get onto their social media platforms, and they can provide tons of information. Lots of bird watchers out there that love to share information. If you want to take a picture of a bird and you want to identify what that bird is, you can do some online research, but you can also send it out there onto social media, and most likely you're going to get the answer. But again, always can come into McDonald Garden Center to ask us questions, pick our brains. We have lots of people here that love to do birding, and so we're going to specifically talk about backyard birding. So Birding 101, just a basic, because I think a lot of people get a little bit worried about how do I attract birds into my yard and how do I do that successfully and easily. And that's kind of what I want to explain. So the first thing is, why do we feed birds? A lot of people, there have been some talks of saying that you shouldn't feed birds, but it's definitely recommended in your backyard to feed birds in your front yard. It's a great thing to do to bring birds into your yard, because one of the major benefits of birding is having them in your yard because they help control some insects. Some of those pest problems that you might have on some of your trees or shrubs, they're amazing. They love to eat insects. Most birdseed isn't going to be their main food diet. They're also looking out there for insects. And so if you've ever had, caterpillars or worms on your trees or shrubs, then those are a great opportunity to get birds in your yard to help kill those insects. Whiteflies, mealybug, aphids, there's a lot of different things that these birds will eat. And they're in there and they're working on eating your plants, your desirable plants that you have in your yard. And it's a great way of controlling those insect issues that you might have on some of your plants. So it's really beneficial to us as humans. Also, when we're talking about hummingbirds, they're great pollinators. So they're very beneficial to us. They help pollinate our food. Definitely help a lot with that. And then also, it helps the birds. I mean, the birds really do get a great snack, treat, energy. It does help with their diet. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about Wild Delight's advanced formula. But it really is good. I mean, if you've got birds that are nesting in your area, in your backyard, they're having babies. And so this helps support that as well. I mean, we definitely want to encourage birds to continue to populate. They're very beneficial for us. And so it's a great topic to kind of talk about those things. And then it's a very, very good, healthy thing to encourage feeding. A lot of people, the misnomer out there is to only feed your birds during the times where it's harder for them to find food. So maybe in the early spring, winter, don't feed them in the summer. That's actually not necessarily true. We definitely recommend feeding them in the summer. We recommend feeding them year round. A lot of birds will leave your area if you don't provide a readily accessible food source. So keeping your bird feeders filled is really, really recommended. So you definitely do want to feed your birds through the entire year. Keeps them in the area, keeps their diet healthy, and keeps them energetic. Takes a lot of fat and energy, and I'll talk about that a little bit more too, to keep those birds going. They spend a lot of energy flying and moving, and so you need to help support that, and that's a great way of keeping them in your yard, is to keep those bird feeders full. So definitely feed them year round. All right, so lots of different types of things to kind of talk about. The first thing I always like to talk about is the types of feeders, because I think that is slightly confusing to a lot of beginners, is there's so many choices, and so a lot of people get really confused as to what should I use as a feeder. Well, there's lots of different types. The first one is your standard hopper feeder. So hopper feeders are gravity fed. They usually hold a fair amount of seed. This just happens to be a smaller one, but they basically are easy to clean. They have a top you open up. You just fill your seed in here. They usually have a little bit of a convex or a habit where it kind of slopes in. That helps concentrate the seed to the middle of this platform here, and then the birds can land on this perch and eat from the hopper feeder. Hopper feeders are great, very easy to use. Usually have a lot of capacity to hold a lot of seed. So you can see this one right here. This is a very large hopper feeder, hopper style feeder. This actually happens to be a squirrel resistant one because it's got this mechanism here where if something too heavy, like a squirrel or a big bird, gets on here, it'll close off the feeding port. So another great style, classic, traditional. This one holds 8 pounds of seed. So you can really get a lot of seed in your hopper feeders, and that's a very traditional one. You're gonna get a lot of cardinals. You're gonna get some finches. You're gonna get chickadees and different types of sparrows, as well as your finches on these feeders. So hopper feeders are very versatile, great for beginners, very easy to use. And we're going to talk about how you can use multiple different types of feeders, and we definitely recommend that. The next style is your tube feeders. So tube feeders, they can come in a lot of different styles just in themselves. But tube feeders are going to be basically shaped like a tube. So we've got this tube feeder here. This has a mesh, and that mesh is great for bigger seed. So if you're ever using bigger seed, sunflower seed, most common black oil sunflower seeds, those are going to be able to go in here, and the birds are going to be able to peck them out. This doesn't have any perches, whereas this one does. So this one's got perches for bigger birds like cardinals and blue jays, and this one's got smaller or no perches. It's just got the mesh, and that is designed for woodpeckers and smaller clinging birds like chickadees and wrens and stuff like that. So they're both lots of different styles of tube feeders. There's even some that just have small little holes for the finches. If you're using a finch food or a Niger seed, the small little tiny ports, some of them have ports that are changeable. So you can actually change the size of the port. You can take the perches on and off. There's lots of different versatility. This is kind of my beginners, go for it. Tube feeders are very, very easy. They're easy to clean. This one is a great one. This one's made by Kohl's. Very heavy duty, very well built metal parts, really nice. And you just take this bottom off and then you can clean your tube out real easy. So we're going to talk about cleaning a little bit too. But tube feeders are very easy to use, very versatile, lots of different ability to use lots of different types of seed. So tube feeders are a really, really good one. Mesh feeders, I just talked about that. Mesh feeders, again, you're going to use a lot for woodpeckers, clinging birds, birds that like to cling on to things. The nice thing about this is bigger birds aren't going to get on it. So if you have issues with grackles and crows and larger birds getting in there and messing them with your seed or eating a bunch of seed, and you want to invite more of the songbirds and some of those clinging birds, this is a great option. It's also harder for squirrels to get to. Now, squirrels can get there, but they're going to get kind of annoyed with this because they can only get one seed out at a time, and they're going to get kind of frustrated. I'm not going to say that they won't give up. We'll talk about squirrels too. But squirrels, are very, they go after it and they keep trying different things until they figure it out. But this is a great option for a beginner. Very simple to use. You don't have to worry too much. Very easy to clean. Again, you just kind of pop off the bottom, and then there's nothing in there. You just kind of clean it out. So really easy to use. Lots of different styles of tube feeders. Lots of different styles. You're going to see some with cages. One of my favorite bird feeders, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about squirrel resistant, but this is Squirrel Buster. Very, very nice feeder. Very, very high end. So it's going to last you a very long time. All metal parts, easy to clean. You just have to take off a couple things, and it's very easy, but you just pop this off. You can fill it with seed real easily. It just pops back on, and the squirrel resistant part of this is amazing. This also is a great one because it's got the perches. I don't know if you can see those, but you got perches on there. And then it's also got the wire cage that surrounds it, which helps for clinging birds. So you can get pretty much any type of bird on this feeder. Really, really great feeder. We'll talk about that again a little bit more as I talk about squirrel resistant type of things, because I know a lot of people are upset with the squirrels getting into their bird food and maybe have given up birding because of the squirrels. So then we've got platform feeders. Platform feeders, I don't sell a lot of platform feeders. Not to say that they're a bad thing, but any animal can get into it. So if you've got raccoons or even mice or rats, types of those things, I mean, they can get into platform feeders. They're hard. They're just hard to keep full. A lot of people actually use platform feeders as a decoy. So maybe you have crows or grackles that are getting into your bird feeders and causing a mess. Platform feeders are going to be easier for them to get to, so it's a great little decoy. Give them a little snack over there, give them some of your cheaper seed or something, and put that in your platform feeder. It's a great way of kind of getting them away from your desirable feeders that you're attracting your songbirds and your desirable birds to. Although I think all birds are desirable. An example of a platform feeder would be, I think I grabbed one, here we go. This is a little bit more of a decorative feeder, but a platform feeder is just going to be a place where you just put seed. It's not going to last a long time. It's going to get eaten up very quickly. So again, this is more of a decorative one, really pretty. I love this one, but it's not going to hold a ton of seed. You just put in some seed. Some people use this for as a mealworm feeder too, but a great way of just kind of providing an easy source of food for the birds. They don't have to do anything. It's real easy. They just land on the edge and they can eat away. So that's a type of feeder, is a platform feeder. And then you've also got suet feeders. So suet feeders are great. We'll talk a little bit about suet as we go along when we talk about food. But suet feeders are just a cage, basically. There's some feeders, birdseed feeders, that will have a suet cage attached to it. Those are great options. Most suet can actually just be hung by itself. But the cage kind of helps protect it a little bit and allows those clinging birds to really get at it a little bit more. So there's also suet feeders. And then there's sock feeders. So we're talking really probably more there when we're talking about finches. Finches are those clinging birds, and they love that small, tiny seed. The crushed up sunflower kernels and the Niger seed. And that sock feeder allows those little finches to get at it, and that's the only bird that can get at it. So it's a very easy kind of feeder. You can buy just a sock. We carry them. It comes on it's basically a mesh bag with very tiny holes. You fill that up, very easy. You just hang it from a tree. Super, super simple. You can also get them pre-filled, which is really kind of nice. So that's a great way of also feeding the birds. And then, of course, you can just throw the bird seed out there. A lot of people do that. It's a great way of seeing all those ground birds. A lot of cardinals and blue jays and robins, they love to feed on the ground. So throwing bird seed on the ground is not a bad option as well. It's great when you're having the grandkids over for a weekend or something, and you want to throw the bird seed out there, and it's just so fun to see all the birds kind of coming and picking away at all the bird seed on the ground. So that's also another good option. So those are kind of your different types of feeders. Again, we can attract lots of different types of birds, specific birds. I mean, especially when we get into finches and hummingbirds, you need specific feeders. But you can still get finches on a regular feeder as well. So I love for beginners to kind of start with a tube feeder or a hopper feeder. They're very functional. They're very easy to use. They're easy to fill and easy to clean. And I don't want to cause people a lot of grief when they're just beginning birding by giving them something complicated or hard to use. So that's kind of your different types of feeders. So let's quickly talk about squirrels, because I know squirrels a lot of people have issues with. I definitely experience them. They are they are they just keep on trying. They will figure a way out of getting the seed. Trust me, they have tried. I have failed many times. I have found my favorite one is the Squirrel Buster feeder. Comes in 3 great sizes. I really love this feeder. It's really, really well made. It comes in a mini, which is more of a mesh, and it's got some perches on it as well. So again, versatile feeder. I mean, because it's got the perches, it's got the mesh cage on the outside to protect. This is called the standard, so it's slightly bigger, very similar style. And then this is the classic, which I love this one. So great feeder. Gonna last you years and years and years. Easy to clean. It's got this great cage on the outside. It's all metal. So when I first started using a feeder, I used one that had plastic perches. Well, my squirrels happen to be pretty aggressive. And when they realize that what happens is the weight pulls this down. I don't know if you can see that working. But when the weight of a squirrel gets on here, it closes off those ports, and those ports can't be accessed by the squirrel. So they get frustrated. And when you have plastic parts, at least my squirrels, chew off all the plastic parts. So all my perches got chewed off. I guess they said, if I can't have the birdseed, nothing can have it. So I love this one because it's all metal. I've had no issues with it. Is it 100%, animal free? Not necessarily. I've got raccoons too, and raccoons have, are pretty, smart animals as well. They'll figure out a way if they're hungry enough to get in there. And so you can get other animals that can get to it, knock it off, those types of things. You can, again, you can combat that with a lot of different methods. But squirrel resistance, awesome, awesome, awesome. All of the Squirrel Busters are really, really well made and are great for deterring squirrels. You've also a lot of you have probably seen the Droll Yankee series. These are huge feeders. Look how big this thing is. So this thing is monstrous. It's great. It lasts a long time, very well built. This one's actually a rechargeable one. So this is called the Yankee Flipper. There's Yankee Whipper, Yankee Dipper, Yankee Tipper. There's a bunch of them. But this one's really cool. It's rechargeable, so you charge it up at night, and then you put it out in the morning, and this perch down here at the bottom will spin and throw those squirrels off. It's a lot of fun to watch. If you ever want to see it, just go to Droll Yankee's website, and they'll show you a video of the squirrels kind of being thrown off. Really, really kind of cool feeder. Huge, though. I mean, this holds a lot of seed. So really for more of the avid kind of birder that's really going to be doing this very seriously and really doesn't want the squirrels on their bird seed, then a good one here. But I love that Squirrel Buster again. And then in those hopper feeders, so that I showed you that one earlier, the hopper style feeder also has the squirrel ability to kind of close off these ports. So if you can see that perch right there, if a squirrel gets on it, it closes off, and the squirrel can't get to the seed. So most of our hopper feeders now have this functionality. Really well built. Again, metal parts. That's what you want, is metal. Plastic tends to get eaten up some. So these are kind of cool. I love the kind of old classic style, that kind of barn look, really kind of nostalgic, that classic look. These are really fun and easy to use. Cardinals love these feeders. They love hopper feeders. They're very easy for them to get to the seed. And this one happens to be squirrel proof as well, which makes it really, really good to use. And then as we talk about seed, this will kind of help us transition into the seed, is capsaicin. Squirrels don't like hot pepper. They get it in their mouth and it's hot to them. Birds don't taste capsaicin, don't taste the hot pepper. So you can get different seed that actually has capsaicin mixed into it. This is Wild Delights, Sizzling and Heat. So really kind of nice blend of just a classic bird seed. Lots of nuts. I'll talk about Wild Delight here in a minute and their types of seed. But a really good formula, and it's got capsaicin in it that helps deter the squirrels. And then you've got Cole's Hot Meats. Probably a lot of you, if you are doing birding, know this one. Really, really nice, pure sunflower meat, basically the seed of the sunflower. So you're not going to get any of that kind of mix of different types of seed. But it's got capsaicin in it as well, which, again, squirrels don't like. Birds don't tend to mind it, don't taste it. So you can use that as an option as well. I do find that squirrels eventually kind of say, I'm starving, I'm going to eat it anyways. So they work for a while, and some people have great success with them. Again, it just depends on the squirrel's food source, and if they're starving, will they eat anything? Probably. Will they keep trying to get into your feeders? Of course. They're squirrels, and that's what they do, and it's kind of fun to watch too. I mean, it's kind of enjoyable, especially if you've got a good one that you know works, to sit there and watch him try and be like, he's at it again, but he's not going to figure it out. Baffles work as well to keep squirrels out. So we've got different types of baffles. This is a smaller one, but it's got a hook underneath. Hard for the squirrel to get around this down to your tube, so you can hang your tube feeder on that. And you've got a baffle that'll hang over top of it. Lots of different types of baffles out there. They work well. Some that go around poles. So if you're doing it on a pole rather than a tree, then you can put the baffle around the pole, and then the squirrel can't get up and around it. So again, squirrels are trying to climb and figure out how to get there. Baffles can work as well. And then some people have tried, the home remedies, like the slinky on the pole works as well. Different types of things. Some people try the foil flapping, but squirrels are resilient. They're going to keep trying. So try to keep fighting back that battle. Now, some people will just feed the squirrels, and that's perfectly fine too. Platform feeders, throwing the seed out in the yard. You can use corn cobs and different types. There's corn cob feeders. Some people use a squirrel feeder specifically designed for squirrels, and that's okay too. Squirrels need to eat, but if you're trying to keep them off of your bird feeders, then definitely getting a good squirrel-resistant bird feeder is what we would recommend. Very easy to use. Okay, so then the next thing I want to talk about is seed. There are lots and lots and lots of different types of seed out there. We primarily carry Wild Delight. Wild Delight is somebody that we've been with for a long time. They have a very high quality bird seed. And then Coles. Coles is a very, very nice bird seed as well. If you ever buy bird seed, a cheaper seed, I will be honest, there's a lot of millet and milo seed in there. There's a smaller white seed. If you see like a wild bird mix, it's typically going to have some of those smaller seeds. And if you're saying the birds are throwing all my seed out of my feeder and onto the ground, it's because they don't want it. And that's why they put it in there to keep the price down. And then the birds go in there and they're just looking for what they want. So they're looking for those sunflower seeds or those pieces of peanuts. And they're going through and picking out all the stuff they don't want and throwing it on the ground, which then attracts other animals and also can create a mess too. And it's a waste of seed, and it usually goes faster. So if you use a cheaper seed, it's typically going to go pretty quick, and you're going to say, I just filled this up today, and it's already gone. With a nicer, higher-end bird seed, it's going to last a little bit longer, and you can feel comfortable that you're giving them a very, very good formula. Wild Delight has a great line of all different types of seed, but one of the best ones that I love is their advanced formulas. So they have a lot of these that have advanced formulas, and they're going to provide a lot of vitamins and different nutrients that birds don't typically get. So they're going to add those in there for you. It's a great thing for their diet. There's a lot of different things that we're going to talk about with what the birds need for a diet. Fat, water. Water is very important. Grit. There's a lot of different things that the birds need, but a vitamin source really, really helps kind of complete that diet. And that's what I love about Wild Delight seed. So let me talk about a couple of them. You've got your kind of, your traditional basic Cardinal Food, which is basically going to be safflower seed and black oil seed, black oil sunflower seed. So really, really easy formula. Cardinals love this. It's really, really good. I recommend this a lot for first-time birders because it's a thicker mix. It goes into a lot of different feeders, so it's a bigger seed. It's a seed that they have to crack into, so you get the enjoyment of watching that rather than them just picking and eating and eating and eating. It gives them a little bit of some time to spend on the feeder. So this is a great one to use for beginners. And also, typically your crows and your grackles and your squirrels aren't going to mess with it as much because it's a little bit more work for them and they're looking for an easy, quick meal. So this is a great starter formula. Again, it's their advanced formula. So Wild Delight Cardinal Food. Nut and berry, which I'll show you this one if I can grab it here. Nut and berry and fruit and berry are great formulas. I mean, just amazing bird seeds. I love these both. Nut and berry is just packed with nuts and berries, and it's got pistachios and pumpkin seeds and all these fun things in there. Really, really nice formula. Very easy to use. Attracts a huge variety of birds. Woodpeckers to chickadees to wrens to sparrows to finches. I mean, they'll all come for nut and berry. I love this seed. It's a great starter formula. Again, if you're doing this for the first time, very easy to use, a great treat, packed with vitamins and nutrients and fat and protein and fiber and all those good things that the seed and the nuts provide. And then fruit and berry is just basically a very similar formula, but it's got a little bit more fruit in it than the nut and berry. So the nut and berry is just nuts and berries, and then the fruit and berry is fruits and berries and some nuts and swells and some seeds. So really, really easy formula to use. Great, and the birds love it. Very easy to use. Woodpecker is a little bit more specific to your woodpeckers and your nuthatches. So this is a really, really good one. Woodpecker formulas are typically a little bit thicker. They're going to provide a little bit more fat. and protein and fiber. But this is a good one. Lots of birds will eat it. I mean, you'll get lots of different birds that will be attracted to this. But a lot of people use woodpecker feeders. They'll use, a mesh feeder with a woodpecker mix. If you're trying to get specific, we can help you get specific. I don't want to talk too long about specifics, but this is a really, really good one as well. Maybe you don't want to use a feeder. Now this one you can use in a feeder, but you can also just spread it around on your deck, porch, or patio. This is a no waste formula. No waste formulas mean all the seeds should get eaten up. So if you've got a cheaper seed, then a lot of it gets wasted because a lot of the birds don't want some of that stuff and they're going to throw it out, like I was mentioning earlier. But this is a no waste formula. It's called deck, porch, and patio, which means you can throw it out on the ground. You can throw it on your deck, your porch, your patio, and the birds are going to come to it. Really, really great. Of course, you're going to attract some squirrels when you do that. But you can also use this in a feeder too. So it's a really, really nice thick formula. It's got lots of different things in it. It's got sunflowers and peanuts and pistachios and pumpkin seeds and a lot of different things. So really, really good formula. Again, part of that advanced formula line. And then as I showed you earlier, the sizzling and heat is part of that line as well. Now Kohl's also has a great mix. It's called the Blue Ribbon Blend. It's got lots of different things in it. It's got black oil, sunflower meats, white millet, and cracked corn. So a really nice kind of wild bird mix. Great for attracting songbirds. Lots of birds will come to this. So that's a fun one too. Kohl's makes a very high-end, very nice birdseed. Now if you go out and you get just a big bag of birdseed, that's fine too. Great. I mean, we sell big bags of just 20-pound bags of birdseed. But if you want it to last and you want it to do very well, it's a great thing to get. Birdseed can be stored in containers. So it's a great idea to get something like this. This is a great storage container. You just pop this open and you fill up your bird feeders. But it's also a great way of keeping your bird seed nice and fresh. You can also freeze bird seed. So a lot of people don't know that, but you can freeze it if you got a deep freezer or a bigger freezer out in your garage or something. You can freeze some of these. So if you see a good deal, we have good deals on these sometimes. You can buy a couple bags and freeze some of it, especially if it's something that you like a lot. So bird seed, again, attracts lots of different types of birds. And we could talk all day on how you want to attract one type of bird. That's a longer conversation. Trying to keep it short and simple, keep it super relatively easy. But I love the Cardinal Food and the Nut and Berry and Fruit and Berry. Great starter formulas, fit in lots of different types of feeders, very easy to use. Okay, so that's kind of the different types of food. Now let's talk about suet real quick. Suet, a lot of people use it more strictly in the winter time. You can use it basically year-round. A lot of people now are using a different type of fat to kind of make those cakes, those suet cakes, that have a no-melt formula, which means you can use it in the summer and it won't melt. The older styles, they'll melt and kind of fall through, so most people use those in the winter. But suet is another great source of food for birds, and that's another option. And suet provides fat. Now, fat does something different for birds than it does for humans. Fat provides them to stay cool in the summer. It helps them burn off the heat. And then in the winter, it helps them stay warm. So fat is actually very important for birds. And they'll eat their body weight in each day in food and seed and a mixture of insects and lots of different things. So fat is not a bad thing for birds like it is for us. If we're talking about a healthy diet for birds, fat is a main ingredient of that. So that's why they use that in suet, and that's what it provides a higher source of fat. Now, it doesn't provide as much protein or fiber, so that's why, again, I love seed. It's just easier to use, and you don't have to buy a specific feeder for it necessarily. You can buy an all-purpose feeder and an all-purpose seed, and you're ready to begin. So that's suet. Now, bugs. Bugs are another one. We've got Wild Delight makes a bugs and berries mix. We also have mealworms and a bug, just a straight bug mix. Great for bluebirds and some songbirds, and lots of different options there for the birds. And it's a great source of protein. Bugs are super important. So if you feel like you need to add a little bit of something into their diet or give them a treat, then adding one of those bug mixes is a great idea as well. Okay, so what other things do birds need? Water. Water is very, very important. So having a bird bath, let me show you just kind of a quick example. You got a bird bath here. This one comes with it. You can get it on a stand. You can put it out, in the garden somewhere. You can put it up on a couple bricks. This is a great option. You've also got, of course, your bigger concrete bird baths. Lots of different options there. So bird baths are very, very vital to the health of birds because it helps them clean their feathers. They can sometimes get mites and different types of bugs in their feathers, and they need those feathers to fly. It's very important that birds know how to fly. and keep their wings clean. And bird baths really help that. Plus, it provides them drinking water. So this is a great thing to do, is have a bird bath around in your yard. You can also, they now make waterers that are hanging. So you can hang a little water, you fill this with water, the water comes out, stays at a certain level, and then they can drink from this. So this is a great way of providing a source of water for birds. Every living thing needs water. Obviously, plants need water, we need water, birds need water as well. So provide them a source of water. And then what else? So I think now we'll move to houses. There's lots and lots of styles of houses. Houses gets a little bit more complicated, actually. So when we're talking about the openings and the different sizes of bird houses and different heights. So what I would tell you to do with bird houses is think about what types of birds you want to attract. Lots of birds nest, so they're probably not even going to use the birdhouse. But lots of birds do use birdhouses, and every one requires a little bit different, things. So 6 to 8 feet, 4 to 6 feet, south facing, north facing. There's a lot of direction out there. Just do a little bit of research, or come in and ask us, and we can help you figure out exactly the right birdhouse for you. But there's, again, lots and lots of styles of birdhouses. We've got this one right here, which is a really kind of unique birdhouse made out of barnwood. So very unique. All of them are individual. Lots and lots of different styles of birdhouses. I don't know if you can see the big one behind me, but this is a big, birdhouse that you can put on a post to allow those roosting birds like bluebirds or other birds that like to stay together and be in flocks. So we've got lots and lots of different styles of houses. We've got decorative ones. I love these. Nice little ceramic hanging birdhouse. And then we've got our bottles. This is a great one. I don't know if I didn't take it out of the package, but I can show you the image here. These are bird bottles, which these have been around for a long time. England, they use them all over the place. Colonial Williamsburg used to use these. Great, resources. It's basically just a bottle that you can mount on the side of a building, a shed, on a post, on a fence. Very easy to use. You put a little stick on the end for a perch, and then climb right in there. Great for, chickadees and wrens and finches and stuff like that. So a really good kind of bird bottle. Very kind of classic look. I love it. It's kind of that garden look. It's made out of terracotta, so it's really easy to use. And then, of course, my roosting pockets, one of my favorite ones for beginners. Love these. So these are very easy to use. You just hang them in a tree. I don't know if you can see the one behind me, but it's just hanging here from the Japanese maple. But these are really easy to use because they kind of provide a really safe habitat. They're very inexpensive. You can hang 2 or 3 of them in a small tree or a shrub, and these are great, very easy for birds to use. They're going to love them because it provides that kind of nice nesting kind of feel. So it looks just like a nest and feels like a nest and provides them that safe feeling. And that's what birdhouses are great for. So little roosting pockets, little pockets, really easy to use. They actually make them now out of coconuts, so coconut shell. So you just got a hole cut out of a coconut, got this little rope, so great. If you got like a tiki tropical look in your backyard, you can buy so many different houses for so many different types of looks. You got cedar wood ones that you can mount on trees, attract different types of birds, bluebirds and wrens and chickadees and finches. Again, great opportunity to kind of keep them in your yard. If you can get a bird to nest in one of your houses, then that bird's going to stick around. It's going to have, its young babies are going to be there. You're going to feed them. It's a great kind of cycle of life happening right there. And it's a great thing for your yard and for the environment. So think about all the different types of houses you can use. Do some research, like I said, lots of different specific types of birds that we could get into. But those are great. We've got owl houses as well. So you can, if you want to encourage owls into your yard, we've got owls, an owl house for owls. And then we've got lots of other different types of decorative houses. Houses, like I said, get a little bit more specific, get a little bit harder to kind of describe in a shorter kind of seminar like this. But again, it's a basic. If you're going to do birding in your backyard, you got to have your feeder, you got to have seed, and you got to have a place for them to live and some water. And so again, at the end of this, I'm going to talk about all the different kind of tips and tricks and things that I've learned over the years of doing it myself that may help you. But lastly, what I want to talk about is hummingbirds. So hummingbirds, people love them. They're great pollinators, and they're very easy to attract. A lot of people have issues, trying to get hummingbirds into the yard. So hopefully I can help you with a couple tips and tricks. Of course, you've got just your standard hummingbird feeder. So this is just a standard hummingbird feeder. You see them all the time. Usually they're red in color. Red is attracting to hummingbirds. So no longer should you buy a red dyed hummingbird nectar, and you shouldn't use it if you're making your own nectar. I'll talk about that in a minute. But you're going to see red a lot for the flowers on the ports, and you're going to see red a lot for glass because it attracts hummingbirds. Red really does. When you're talking about petunias or different types of plants that you want to attract hummingbirds, bee balm, red. Petunias, we recommend red or purple. That darker color is what attracts hummingbirds. So this is a great color choice. You're going to see a lot of them in this color. You're going to see a lot of the flower ports are going to be red or yellow or orange, a bright kind of color like that. But that's what red does. But this is just a simple, you just twist this off, fill it with your nectar, screw it back on, and hang it up. So really, really easy feeder to use. We do sell nectar, and this is, of course, we don't have any dyes in these. The nice thing about this over just making your own nectar is this has wildflower infused into it, which is kind of cool for hummingbirds. A natural wildflower infusion of that nectar in there. So you get a little bit more in here. You get a little bit more of a versatility and a little bit more to their diet. So this is a great resource as well. So we carry these. This is we've got the concentrate. So this makes a bunch. And then we've got the ready to use. If you just want to fill it up, you can just fill it up. And it comes in this nice little wine bottle, which is kind of cool. So you've got those hummingbirds. So you got hummingbird nectar. Now, what's also cool is, and a lot of people don't know this about hummingbirds, is they like insects too. They'll eat some insects. It's a very, very important part of their diet. And fruit flies are the #1. So a lot of people used to hang banana peels. I don't know if you ever saw that, but they'll hang banana peels out in the yard, and the fruit flies again will start to form around the banana peels, and then the hummingbirds will come off and pick them off out of the air. It's a fun thing to watch. Kind of gross though, having a dead banana peel hanging from a string. So this is a new one from Humbug. This is a Humbug feeder, and it's just basically a simple top. It's got all these small holes in it that the fruit flies can hatch from and come out of. But you just slice up some bananas and put them in here, and the fruit flies will hum around this thing, and then the hummingbirds come around and pick them off. And it's a lot of fun to watch. It's also got a little perch here, so if they want to take a break, they can. Hummingbirds do sit down. We've got little hummingbird swings that you can put out. Hummingbirds definitely need to relax. I mean, if you've ever seen a hummingbird, they fly, they never stop flying, but they do stop, they do relax. And so having a place, a little perch sometimes helps. Also having a little hummingbird swing might help encourage more hummingbirds. But this is the Humbug, and this is a great place to kind of hide those bananas as they kind of get gross and nasty. It's all plastic, so you can wash it out real easily. And the fruit flies that form around this attract a ton of hummingbirds. They also have a new one called Hum Yum, and Hum Yum gives you both. So Hum Yum's got the same plastic thing that you cut up a banana and put it in, but it's also got a place to put some nectar. So you get best of both worlds. So you've got ports for them to kind of get nectar from, and it also is a great place for the fruit flies to start to form, and the hummingbirds will be attracted by those as well. So those are kind of cool, something new that we haven't carried for a while. A great idea to try. Some quick tips on hummingbirds. Have multiple feeders. Hummingbirds can be kind of aggressive to each other, and sometimes they don't like being real close. So just a simple hummingbird feeder like this might attract 1 or 2, but it's going to be hard to get a lot of activity around something like this. So having 3 or 4 of these hanging from a tree or spread out across the yard will help. Also, you want to put your hummingbird feeders in a slightly protected area that maybe can get some sun. I mean, you want it to be kind of a warmer area, but shady areas aren't bad either. Shady areas will actually keep your nectar longer. So if you've got your own nectar mix or you bought a nectar, nectar will stay longer in a cooler, shadier place. And the hot summer heat outside, it may last only a day or 2. But in a cool, shady place, it can last up to a week. So knowing that also helps. You can also refrigerate nectar, helps kind of store it a little bit longer. So the way to make your own nectar, this is a quick kind of trick that you can do if you want to make your own, is 1 cup of sugar, plain table, pure cane sugar, granulated cane sugar, and 4 cups of boiling water. So it's 1 part to 4. So 1 part of sugar to 4 parts of water. So if you took 1 cup of sugar and you mix it with 4 cups of water, that gives you your nectar. You want it to be warm water. And I personally recommend boiling the water first, just in case there's anything in the water that you might be concerned about. But boil the water first. That kind of helps kill everything off. Then don't mix your sugar in first, because that can make a different mix. But once the water cools down a little bit, mix your sugar in. You know you've got sterile water, and then you've got your sugar mixture, and then you can use that. Great source of energy. Hummingbirds obviously use a ton of energy. They flap their wings so many times a second. It's crazy. and it's so much fun to watch them, but you can make your own nectar. Don't use honey, don't use red dyes, don't use any kind of dyes, and don't use any kind of artificial flavoring. Just water and sugar. Or if you don't want to make your own, we've got concentrates, and we've got ready to use, and it's completely safe, and it doesn't have any dyes in it. So nectar is very important to them. Giving them a source of protein with the bugs is another great option as well. So those are some tricks for hummingbirds, but give them in a protected place. Hummingbirds are small. Give them a little protected place. That's why I put this Japanese maple behind me today, because Japanese maples are a great place. I'll talk about that kind of at the end. It's a great place to hang multiple feeders from, small trees. Provides a little bit of shade, keeps your nectar and your seed fresh longer, and also provides a safe environment for your hummingbirds. So that's a great place to kind of transition into how to keep birds in your yard, and some tips and tricks and some things that I've learned over the years. So you've come, if you've never done birding before, you get a feeder, you get some bird seed, you get your house, you kind of have an idea of where you're going to put them in your yard. So my number one thing is be patient. Give it some time. It takes some time to get birds to see these things. So be a little patient. It also helps if you have a wooded area nearby. If you live in a new property area where maybe they've taken a lot of the trees out, might be a little bit more difficult to attract birds. So I would definitely recommend thinking about your plants. Think about different types of plants that you can plant in your yard. Japanese maples, small cherry trees, different types of trees, shade trees, shrubs are great hiding places. Evergreen shrubs, conifers, chindoviburnum, big hedges, azaleas. I mean, the possibilities are endless on the plants that you can plant to attract birds and give them a safe environment to be in. Birds are small. They're trying to hide from predators like hawks and other types of eagles and hawks that will come after birds. And so they're trying to stay protected, and that's why a lot of them you'll see will come in and grab their seed and get out of there. I'll talk about that in a minute too, because that's kind of fun to watch and understand why that happens. But they're trying to be protected, so give them a safe environment. If you live in an area that's just a straight grass backyard, it's going to be harder to get birds there because there's no environment for them to kind of live in. Just putting a house up isn't going to do it. You need to kind of think about your landscape. If you live near a wooded area and you've ever tried birding, you know the success that you can have because lots of birds will live in a wooded area with bigger trees, and it's a protected environment to keep some of those predatory birds and other animals away from them. So they need a safe place to eat. They want to feel safe, so provide them a safe environment. That is a very, very important thing that I can tell you. And plants, as we know at McDonald Garden Center, will help create that safe environment for them. And then also some other tricks might be if you have like a sunroom or something and you've ever experienced a dead bird or you got a big bay window, that's the worst. You feel awful about it. But adding some sun catchers, window feeders, so you can actually put a window feeder on your window, that helps birds see the window. So sometimes windows reflect and will actually to the bird look like a shrub. Maybe you've got a shrub that's planted right there. The light reflects, shows an image of a shrub, and the bird thinks it can hide into the shrub and goes right into it, and it's a window. So hanging your bird feeders a little bit closer to the window, not only will it give you more enjoyment, it'll slow the bird down and keep them from flying right into your window. So lots of tips there to kind of keep the birds safe from windows, especially if you have a lot of windows, big windows, sunrooms, things like that. You may have experienced it, and I don't want you to feel bad about feeding the birds, but there are ways to be safe, and hanging decals or using a window feeder or putting your bird feeders a little bit closer to the window actually will help them. Gives you the easier chance of seeing them and also protects the birds. Let's see other tricks. So again, I talked about the protection. Put more feeders out. If you've tried one feeder and you're not being real successful with one, try another feeder. Maybe get a little bit more specific. Try a hopper feeder. Try a tube feeder. Try a platform feeder. Try throwing some seed out in the yard just to attract some birds into your yard and make them realize that you have some feeders in your yard. So very, very easy kind of tricks there. Give them a protected environment. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. Water. I mentioned water before with bird baths. I don't know if you know this, but running water really attracts a lot of birds too. So having a fountain might be a great addition to your landscape and will also help attract birds. And some fountains have low enough bowls that birds will actually get into the fountains. And it's so much fun to watch a bird playing in a running fountain, and it gives you some enjoyment. That running water really helps soothe birds and make them feel safe. And so that's a great way to attract birds as well. And then clean. Clean. I can't tell you how important it is to help our feathered friends by staying clean and keeping your feeders clean, keeping your bird baths clean. In the summer, you should put fresh water in your bird bath every day. You should scrub it down once a week. Your bird feeders, you should see when the plastic or the glass or the clear screen or anything starts to get cloudy looking. Great time to go and clean it. A little bit of 1 part bleach, 5 parts water. You can just use normal soap and water. Typically cleans all of them. Soap and water is very safe. But just clean your feeders because it really does help knock down on some of the parasites and some of the different issues that birds can have. Birds will carry around a disease that doesn't affect that bird but can transfer it to another bird. So that's why I love tube feeders, because it keeps the birds a little bit further apart. Hopper feeders, are pretty good too. A lot of birds typically won't pack into one another and compete. They'll compete over a tube feeder or a hopper feeder, yes. But if you give them too big of an area to feed from, then a lot of birds, a lot of different types of birds can come into one area, and that's not what we want either. So there's another kind of trick for you. And then move your feeders. So again, be patient. Try them in the spot that you really want them. If it's not working, try a different location. It's okay. Be patient, especially with your houses. I've moved bird houses around my yard multiple times. And again, being clean is important. Clean out your bird houses after the spring nesting season. So typically, nesting can last anywhere from March, February, all the way through July and August. But once we hit fall, you can typically get in there, clean them out. You can hang them back out, especially if they're decorative. I mean, I just love bird houses just the way they look. I hope they get used, and I want them to get used, and you can be very specific, and you can work with that and keep trying them at different locations until they get used, because it really does help keep them in your yard. But again, be clean. Clean really helps. If you're using a less expensive seed, it's fine. They're going to pick through some of it. They're going to throw some of it on the ground. That's okay. But realize that that space under your feeder over time can create a sludge, and that birdseed can get old, and that milo seed and that the cheaper stuff that's down on the ground will get nasty and old over time. And a lot of the ground feeding birds like cardinals and blue jays and robins will go down there and try and eat some of that, and that's not going to be healthy for them either. So going down and cleaning that area up every once in a while, raking it out when it's dry, cleaning it up if you've got a big mess down there, that really helps improve the health as well of our birds. One other thing, or a couple other things that I can think of, is a lot of people don't know bats. I'm not going to talk about it too long, but bat houses are a great way to encourage the bats to be in your yard. Some people are probably cringing at home right now talking about bats. But bats are amazing. They eat a ton of mosquitoes, and they hunt at night, and they sleep during the day, so you typically don't see them. But bat houses, this one bat house can hold up to 100 bats. So you can get a lot of bats in this thing. You want to put it high up on a tree, usually with a little bit of shade, so in the summer we don't get a lot of heat building up with 100 bats in here. But bats will eat a ton of mosquitoes. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's a lot of mosquitoes in one night. So bat houses are amazing. They come in lots of different sizes. This is a big one, but you can get smaller ones. So bats, while not birds or hummingbirds, bats might be something that if you're looking in our birding department, you might see a bat house and say, what is that? And I just kind of wanted to tell you, because if you're worried about mosquitoes and you don't want to use insecticides, this is a great option. Bats eat tons. And again, need a running water. They like to be near running water. They like to be near a wooded area. So think about that as well. As if you've got a yard that has no big trees and there's no big trees in the area, it might be harder to attract bats with just a bat house up on a pole. I'm not saying don't do it. It's just going to take a little bit longer, and be patient. So bat houses are another option, something that you can do in your backyard. Let's see, is there anything else that I kind of missed? I think that's kind of everything. I mean, again, beginners definitely do this. It's a great hobby. I mean, it's one of the top 10 hobbies in the United States. Obviously, gardening is a huge one and very important, and birding is right up there with it. It's a great hobby. It goes hand in hand with gardens and nature. And right now, it's a great time to be out in the yard and de-stress a little bit. Watch your feathered friends. Encourage them in your yard. It's beneficial to you. It's beneficial to your plants. And it's beneficial to the birds. It really is. Feed the birds. They will appreciate it. They'll love you for it. They'll stick around for you. Keep your bird feeders full. Keep your bird baths clean, 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 clean. Very important. And have fun with it. And try different things. And be patient. And don't worry if you don't get them right away. It's okay. It can take time. It might take moving them around. And it might take asking us some questions or doing a little bit of research. So lots of birds in our area that will love to have you feed them. and we encourage that here at McDonald Garden Center. So I think I see some questions over there coming up, so I'll come around and ask the questions. Thank you for joining us. I know that was a lot of information. We'll post the notes as soon as we can for this seminar. We'll be doing seminars, again, as long as we possibly can, as long as we've got topics to talk about, which I think are endless. Next week, we'll be doing one on tomatoes, just specifically tomatoes, so we're going to get real specific for some of these, and I'll talk about just how to grow great tomatoes and different types of tomatoes, and then we'll do an herb one next Friday on all your different types of cooking herbs. So again, thanks for joining us. I'll come over and answer questions. Have a great day. Be safe. And we'll see you soon, hopefully. All right, let me see if I can scroll to the top here. Apparently, I haven't been able to see all of them. All right. All right, I gave up on bird feeders because of squirrels. I know. Trust me, Denise, I know how that is. Try the Squirrel Buster. It's my favorite. It's my new one. I've been using it for probably a year now, and it's awesome. I got a little bit of a raccoon issue. They've figured it out, but I think I've stumped them by hanging it in a different spot just to keep it away from them. They were hanging from the tree, grabbing the Squirrel Buster, pulling it over to themselves, and eating out of it. So I was losing all my birdseed at night. You can bring your bird feeder in at night if you want to. That's what I do too sometimes. So Nick lives downtown Norfolk, small balcony, but I've seen birds stop by, especially cardinals. How would you help feed birds in small spaces? Great thing. You know, if you've got a balcony, that's why they love overhangs. I didn't mention that. That's a great point. Overhangs keep the birds dry if it's raining outside, so they'll sometimes flock to those areas. It's great for hummingbirds. They know that the seed is going to be fresh because it's covered, and covered spaces provide them a safe environment. So they're looking for a safe environment, and if you put a small feeder there, if you can hang it from your overhang, if you can't hang it, then you can get a shepherd's hook and put it into a pot with some plants around it, and put a bird feeder off your shepherd's hook. There's lots of different opportunities there. You can put a platform feeder on your railing. You got lots of opportunities to feed in small spaces. But yeah, you'll definitely get some birds. Cynthia, I have problems with squirrels. I know, I talked about squirrels. They are a problem. They are resilient little creatures, aren't they? But hopefully some of the tips I gave you will help with that. Definitely look at the Squirrel Buster. It's my favorite. And maybe one of the hopper feeders that have the close downs. We have suet that squirrels don't eat, but the ravens and crows demolish it before the smaller birds get a chance to. That is true. And that is the downfall of some of those suet feeders or some of those platform feeders, those easy to reach feeders for the bigger birds. They will get in there and they will devour it. And ravens and blackbirds and crows and grackles, they are a nuisance, and it's unfortunate. So maybe look at trying to put in a little bit more of a protected area. Maybe that'll work. There are some hot pepper ones that will help for the squirrels if you've got squirrels issues with it, but that might be an option there. And again, I really love the Wild Delight berries and nuts and bug formulas, and it's harder, especially if you've got an issue with those bigger blackbirds and crows. Try sunflower seed. Sunflower seed works great. They tend to not mess with it as much. Let's see. We've got one. Birdseed seems to attract rats. Might be a cheaper birdseed. You might have a feeder that's faulty. It's dropping a lot. Most rats won't go to a bird feeder. Now, if they can get to it, you need to look at a different place to put it. If you're storing your birdseed, you might look at a plastic container like the one I showed earlier. That might help keep the rats out of it if you're having rat issues there. But yes, birds or food will attract all animals, possums, rats, raccoons. All animals are looking for an easy source of food. So yes, it can happen. Use a higher quality, something that's going to be used up. Also, rats typically aren't going to come out typically in the middle part of the day. So if you want to, bring your bird houses or your feeders indoors, and seal them up or something so that you don't have issues with rats. I hope that helps. Has anyone seen hummingbirds yet? They say that they're in the area. So best advice I have for hummingbirds is look at their migratory patterns. You can go online, lots of good websites that'll help you kind of see. They say, I have not seen one yet. One great advice for hummingbird feeders is to put out your hummingbird feeders early and keep them out longer, because you'll catch those hummingbirds that are migrating further up north. They'll stop by and they need some energy. So it's a great way to attract them early and then keep them out there long as they're migrating back down south. Could be as late as September and October while those hummingbirds are migrating back down south. So think about that as well, and keep them out for a longer period. It's a great tip and advice that a lot of people tell me. I have not seen them personally, but the migratory pattern says that they're coming this way and they're on their way and they've passed us already somewhat. So it's been cool. They might have slowed down their migratory patterns. I haven't checked in a few days, but that's a great question. I don't know if anybody else has seen them, so maybe they have. So it looks like somebody has actually seen some. So great. So they're in the area. So put out your hummingbird feeders. Get them out there. Any suggestions to attract bluebirds? So bluebirds typically are going to like the bugs. So that's what they typically feed from, are bugs. So try mealworms. You know, a mesh feeder with that mesh feeder that I showed earlier with packed full of mealworms, bluebirds are going to love that. Bluebird houses will help. Bluebird houses, I can't remember again. There's so much information there. I want to say it's somewhere around 6 to 8 feet is typically where you want to put a bluebird house. The problem is a bluebird hole has to be a certain size, and that also will attract other birds. Other birds can get in there. Bigger birds can't, but bluebirds can. But it's got to be a certain size, so it minimizes the bigger birds getting in there. So making sure that the hole of a bluebird house is the right size. And then unfortunately, there's going to be other things like chickadees and wrens that'll get in there, unfortunately, and build a nest maybe before them. But keep trying. Keep trying different things. Do some research on bluebirds specifically, but bugs are what bluebirds love. So try that as well. But they'll eat other things too. So it's not just bugs. Cynthia, thanks. Glad you had a good. Thanks, Tara. Awesome info. Good, good, good. Is there a way to go back and see this again? Yes, we're going to be posting this on our Facebook page. It'll also be on our website. So if you want to go back and watch this again, I know it's a lot of information. I kind of just spew it out. But if you want to go back, you can watch it again. You can slow it down. We also will be posting the notes from this. As soon as we can get them typed up and get them done, we'll post some notes so you can have those as well. Thanks for your input. You're welcome, Nick. Tammy, thank you. Hey, everybody. I think that's it. I think I've seen them all. So thanks again for joining us. Hope to see you next time. We'll be talking about tomatoes next Wednesday. And we'll see you soon. Come by and see us. McDonald Garden Center. Have a great day.